here in Macau, and I want to do a reality check with you. So whether you're watching this shortly after it's been released or years later, I do read all the comments. It's easier now, of course. But if you're among the less than 100 people who are subscribed to the Ask a Vegan channel, then please share your feedback and your opinions and your suggestions and your experiences, because I am really interested. And the reason I'm interested is because this trip is the first that I've done since before the pandemic. I've been on Saipan now since 2018. Haven't traveled since. This is the first time. I went to Guam, spent a day. Then I went to the Philippines, spent a week with a friend. And now I'm staying with a friend here in Macau. And it's been an enlightening experience, obviously, traveling for the first time since COVID. Find out what the new precautions are, what the new regulations are, what the new visa policies are. And just to give you an example, I went to Vietnam, Da Nang, as well as Ho Chi Minh City in 2018. But apparently now, since COVID, the visa application process is done entirely online, and it's extended to 80 countries as far as I've read. And Jamaica is not one of those countries. So as a Jamaican passport holder, I am a US permanent resident, but everything goes by the passport. So as a Jamaican passport holder, unless I can find a country where I can walk in and apply in person, as I do, or as I used to be able to do for the Thailand visa here in Macau, I would go to Hong Kong and apply in person and get it the same day. So unless I can get that similar arrangement, perhaps in Cambodia, then Vietnam is off the list until they have visa upon arrival instituted again. So as I said, it's been very interesting learning or getting back into the swing of travel, finding out how I travel, what I like, in my environment. So a few things have come up that I found very interesting. Staying with my friend, one of the first things that came up was, and I'll give you a little background. I am the messy house guest. In the title, I alluded to that. Well, I'm the messy house guest. And in my defense, I'm actually planning to do a full video on it. And if I can convince my friend to participate, maybe without showing his face, do a podcast, do an audio, just so he can tell his side of the story. So my friend is married. He's living with his wife and child. And I'm the house guest, and I've been living on my own since college. The 4 years of college, I lived by myself in single dorms, and then after college I got my own place. So I've never lived with anyone for any substantial length of time. There were a few months during the transition from being an employee to being an entrepreneur and nomadpreneur, where I lived with friends, slept on their couches. But that was only for a few months, few weeks, so I've always lived on my own. As a result, there are certain things that I have gotten used to. I have evolved in how I keep my environment and the things that I notice, things that I don't notice. So there are certain things that normal people do when they're living with others that I've never had to do. And not only that, it's not even on my radar. So my friend, has been graciously pointing out certain things. Well, I've asked him to point these things out because I want to be a good house guest. I just have no training whatsoever. So he's pointing out things like, getting up from the table and pushing the chair back in. It's just something that I don't even doesn't even register. So for the last however many years of my life, I pull out, get up from a chair and just do the next thing that I want to do. That might also include, cleaning up after myself after a shower or using the bathroom. Again, in my mind, one of the topics that came up is, some of the water on the sink. When I live by myself, that water will eventually dry, and I move on with life. So there are just certain things that I just don't notice, and we've been having fun. At least I have. I don't know if my friend and his wife are enjoying it as much, but just talking about what's considered normal, for people who live normal lives as opposed to confirmed bachelors who never had to live with anyone. So that's the first thing. The other thing that came up was how I deal with my travel plans. As I was making plans for a possible trip to Ho Chi Minh City or to Da Nang, Cambodia, I'm sorry, either Siem Reap or Phnom Penh, I attempt to strike a balance between speed, I don't like long layovers, and price. Obviously, I want to reduce the price as much as possible. So obviously, as if you want a shorter trip, shorter layovers and less stops, you pay more money. So somewhere in between, there's a happy medium where I don't have to spend too long in a layover and I get a good price. And in order to do that, sometimes it might be necessary to go out of my way. So if I'm here and I want to go here, it's not crazy to me to go here first in order to come back here if it ends up being a shorter trip with no layovers. My friend, however, thinks that that's crazy. So he wouldn't do it. If he he would rather take a direct route to get to where he's going. But for me, the worst thing is just sitting for 22 hours or having nothing to do for 9 hours. I think the longest layover I would be comfortable with would probably be maybe 4 hours, unless it's in a country and a city that I'm familiar with, where I can leave the airport and entertain myself, during the layover, like I did in Guam. So just interesting to see how other people travel. And then the next thing that came up is how I deal with adversity, how I deal with delays, and how I deal with cancellations. So just to catch you up, right now I am in Macau, and the plan was to go to Thailand. However, the Thailand visa that I applied for 8 days ago still hasn't come through. So I'm now left with a couple options. Option one, if my friend can put up with me being the messy house gets longer, I can stay here, wait for the visa to show up and to get approved, and then I can continue to Thailand. Otherwise, what I'm planning on doing is going to Cambodia, since I've never been there before, staying in a hostel and waiting out the visa there, or seeing if I can apply in person in Phnom Penh and then continue my adventure to Thailand. So my friend said to me, if this were he would be up in arms and writing angry letters or calling and finding out what's going on with the visa, because it's taking a bit longer than I believe I saw on the website. It was, if I'm not mistaken, I was expecting 2 or 3 days, but it has taken longer, so it is what it is. And that is my attitude. My basic philosophy in life is the universe is perfect, and everything that happens, whether you perceive it as good or bad, or whether others perceive it as good or bad, is helping move me closer to my goals. That's the way I look at things. So when things happen, I assess, let's say, for example, in this case, the visa doesn't show up in time, so I lose my ticket to Thailand. I bought it on cheapo air, so I'm not entitled to a refund based on the option that I chose, nor can I get a credit. So anyway, so I lost that. I think it was $137 one way to Thailand. And now the way I look at things is, hey, it is what it is. So my option is I assess the situation and I look at my options and I do the next most logical thing. So in this case, again, if my friend can put up with me a few days more, I can wait it out, or I can go to Cambodia and then wait it out there. And I make that, and I'm not upset. I'm not sure if people will understand, but not upset at all. I just do whatever is the next best logical thing, and I move on. So my question to you is, how do you handle things like that? Now, obviously, there are cases where a well-worded letter or phone call might be appropriate. But in cases like that, I'm really not even angry. I've done that before, and I do it because I know that sometimes, being the dissatisfied customer can help move things along quickly. Sometimes there may be an oversight in some regard, so it can work. But in other cases, getting angry and shouting and writing long letters is not my style. And the reason is, when I travel, everything that happens during the travel is part of the experience. So whether it's my passport not arriving in time with the visa, whether it's a flight cancellation or delay, none of this stuff is incurs the death penalty, and it's not major. Even if I have appointments, like I had an appointment at Yanhee Hospital in Thailand for tomorrow, so I won't be able to make that. So I emailed them and told them, I'll reschedule, and might be a little inconvenient for them if they've blocked out time, but it is what it is. So I just move on and I make the next best logical plan, and that's part of the adventure. That's part of the story I get to tell. I end up spending a little more time in Macau, and the way I look at things is, there could be many things that are working in my favor. Let's say one thing that just jumps to mind is I as you saw in a previous video, I went to a homeopathic practitioner at Optimum over in Hong Kong, and started the treatment, and staying here a little longer before I do the chelation therapy or the colonic again in Thailand. I'll have more time to see the homeopathic remedy, to see how it works, to see it in how effective it is. There might be an experience that I'll have here in Macau, maybe someone I'll meet, maybe a new restaurant I'll discover. But for me, as the saying goes, it's all good, and I just make the next best logical plan and move on from there. So one of the things I've learned in life, as I said, my mantra in life is the universe is perfect. And another thing I've learned is that the only cause of unhappiness in life is too closely held expectation, unmet expectation to which you're closely held, closely attached. So I was expecting the Thai visa in 2 days, 3 days, but it didn't come. But I'm not, overtly attached to that is going to cause me unhappiness. I just accept it for what it is and move on. So in life, you have expectations about how people should behave, what things should happen, how your life should go. And if it doesn't go that way, a lot of people, rather than seeing it as an opportunity to take a new path or to adjust their attitude, towards things, they'll get bent out of shape and try to force things. I don't do that. In most cases, I just let things play out the way their way they will, and 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, things work the way that I'd like, because I'm hopeful I'm making good survival decisions. But if not, then as I said, just accept it and move on, and not unhappy at all. So let me know what your attitude, your travel attitude is. That's what I'd like to find out. What's your travel attitude? Obviously, if money is an issue, or if time and appointments are an issue, you're rushing to meet to get to a wedding by a certain time in a different country, then obviously these things might upset you a little bit more. So I can understand that. But let me know in the comments what your travel attitude is, and also if you're the messy house guest, or if you're the OCD, obsessive compulsive host. I'm really curious to find out, do a reality check and find out where I stand and where you stand. So hope you enjoyed this. This is just some thoughts that came to mind, and I will be heading out soon to a veggie restaurant here in Macau and enjoy the next few days that I have here. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.